This is Joe with the Recklessly Skeptical podcast, and you are listening to...
And this is Josh.
This is Matt.
And we also have a member here, or
Special guest.
a special guest here today.
I'm special.
His name is Dan Ellis. He's the former president of the Atheists of Utah. He's a member of the Godless Revolution. He's the American Atheist State Director here in Utah, which is pretty cool. He's a master twerker and a gentleman extraordinaire. If you're in Utah, this is the atheist to know right here, Dan Ellis.
Master twerker? I don't have an ass to twerk anywhere. Like, it's all migrated from my ass to my... Well, I say migrated. It hasn't really migrated. I never had an ass. It gives an excuse to have the paunch that I have now.
May there or may there not be a YouTube video of you twerking.
Twerking? I don't know if twerking is the right word.
I've seen the video. I would call it twerking.
There's so many things that haven't been on YouTube. I'm so glad. Thank you very much to all of my friends who are more discreet, I guess. I like to drink sometimes.
Yeah. Don't we all?
Oh, yeah.
Where can we find you, though, specifically?
You can find me specifically on Twitter at religionon and on Facebook at facebook.com/techiedan. I'm a computer nerd, so...
And then the Godless Revolution?
The Godless Revolution, you can find us on Facebook at at facebook.com/godlessrevolution. That's our Facebook page. On Twitter at TGR Podcast. You can find our shows on godlessrevolution.podbean.com. And you can email us at godlessrevolution@gmail.com.
Awesome.
And then for us, you can find us on YouTube if you're listening to this on Spreaker, or you can find us on Spreaker if you're listening to us on YouTube. We should be connected to iTunes sometime this week. We also have, if you want to find us and hang out with us on Facebook, we're on the Evil Atheists group at Facebook.
Oh, I should say you can also find us on iTunes and Spreaker and soon Google when they do their podcast thing.
Oh.
Signed up for that.
Oh,
They'll
that's
be doing
cool.
that shortly. And then basically you can get to the show through any podcasting app available.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll have to learn some things from you, I'm sure. Cause
I'd be happy to help out right now.
Sweet. All right, so we had some stories we wanted to cover, so let's get into those. The first one we had some disagreement on. It's a story about a CNN person who hosts the show. What's the word?
Host?
Yeah, host.
A pundit. That's the word. Named Elise Abbott, and she put out a tweet saying, "House passes bill that could limit Syrian refugees. Statue of Liberty bows head in anguish." And then she said, at CNN Politics, and she linked the story about the House passing the bill. And because she put out that tweet, and it's CNN, she got suspended.
And I in no way agree with CNN, but like Dan said earlier, that if they had certain rules that she didn't follow or,
Yes.
then they're a private company. They can do what they want, but I in no way agree with them.
Yeah, have they cited specifically why she was suspended? Like if she broke some certain policy guideline
Or if the remark of bowing the Statue of Liberty, bowing its head...
They're like, that's impossible, you're fired.
It's made of metal, stupid.
We only believe in creationism.
So the comment on this is, even-handedness, mind you, isn't just a matter of journalistic principle for CNN. It's a business imperative. Competitors Fox News and MSNBC are two partisan networks that are looking out for their views. So essentially, it's just try and be even-handed, which is what one I think is one of the biggest faults of CNN. I think that CNN should, if they want to represent both sides, they should have pundits that represent both sides, but they shouldn't be so neutral as to completely take any meaning away from the story.
And journalists, they should give facts, and then they should give their own opinion, I think.
I think some journalists can and should. I think others, I mean, if they're only reporting the facts, then she could have just stuck to the facts. And I'm guessing that's what their disagreement is, or why she was suspended. Because she didn't just say that the House did this. She added a bit that exposes her personal bias or her personal views. And I think maybe that's why they got upset.
But don't we all have personal views, and why should we hide them?
Well, I think your job as a journalist is to report the facts, and that's it.
See, I disagree. I think you should report facts and give your opinion.
Yeah.
I think you
But
can
there's-
if you're a pundit. I mean, if you're somebody like Glenn Beck, certainly you're going to be airing your own views. But if you're just a journalist who's just giving people information, maybe you should limit it to that. You know, if you want your own social commentary on things, you can have a show like Glenn Beck or, you know, Sean Hannity or anybody else. But if you're a journalist who's there just getting the facts out to people, I'm guessing that's why she was suspended, is because CNN doesn't want to say that, you know, they don't want to carry the taint, for lack of a better word, of having any kind of bias one way or another, right? They're trying to remain neutral. And it's funny that, you know, Fox News purports itself to be, you know, we give you the facts, you make the decision, or I can't even remember
Yeah.
how their fucking slogan goes exactly, but
I think that's close enough.
yeah.
But for me
We
to
report, you decide.
Yeah,
I
we
think that's
report.
it.
Yeah. But my opinion on that, though, is, again, it's one of CNN's faults. So, like, when they bring in people talking about global warming or climate change, they bring in people from both sides, but that's not how science sees it. Science is
Oh, sure,
99% in agreement that global warming or climate change is a matter of fact. So, I mean, that's again why I see that as a fault, not as a strength. Any other comments on this story?
I'm good.
I was just gonna say, you know, on the global warming thing, yeah, there are two sides, but one side is a small itty bitty teeny tiny minority of fucktards who don't know what the hell they're talking about and are ignoring the science. You know, they're not in the mainstream of any kind of scientific discovery or knowledge in this area.
Yeah,
And they probably work for oil companies.
But when CNN brings them on and has them discuss it, gives the side that's obviously wrong a platform to lie.
And it provides a false narrative that, you know, the scientific community is evenly split, and it's not at all.
Yeah. And that's, again, creationism and evolution, same deal.
Yeah.
So the second story I wanted to get onto was about more Mexican immigrants. This is the title of the story by Julia Preston on New York Times. Is more Mexican immigrants leaving U.S. rather than entering, report finds. And she quotes the Pew Research poll that so the narrative is typically, we need to build a wall to shut out Mexicans because they're coming over and ruining the country. But over the last 5 years, there have been slightly more than 1 million Mexicans and their families, including 100,000 children younger than 5, who were American citizens born in the United States, returned to Mexico. In the same period, an estimated 870,000 Mexicans came here, resulting in an outflow of about 140,000 people.
That's so funny. I love that.
I work with a lot of Hispanic guys, and quite a few have left in the last year. Some for personal reasons, some for legal reasons. But, yeah, a lot of them have left. More than have come, at least from my personal experience.
I understand that net immigration numbers in total are net negative. We've had less immigration. I saw a funny, I can't remember if it was a comedian I saw or a tweet or a post on Facebook, but I saw somebody say something along the lines of, you know, I'm excited to see what the results of building a wall on the border will be. It'll be interesting to see a country with so many guns go through cocaine withdrawal.
That's awesome.
And the narrative is obviously not factually based. I mean,
it's racistly based.
Yeah. But what do we expect from a party that contains Donald Trump as the leading candidate?
Not much.
That just exposes the views of the majority of Republicans, right? I mean, I think Bill Maher said it best when he said, you know, being a Republican doesn't make you a racist, but if you are a racist, chances are you're probably a Republican.
Yeah. So, and then we'll go on to the next story, and that was on John Kasich. So speaking about more fairly stupid people running in the Republican Party, so John Kasich, who unfortunately he at least to me has seemed like the more moderate Republican and the more sane Republican, but recently I guess he got some bright idea from somewhere, who knows where. But let me read this from the story, and this is a story from the Huffington Post. He was saying that he would like to set up an agency to mandate to promote what he calls Judeo-Christian values overseas to counter Islamic propaganda. And he says, more descriptively, the agency's job would be fundamentally to retrieve what we used to do when we beamed messages to the former Soviet Union. We need to beam messages around the world about what it means to have a Western ethic, to be part of a Judeo-Christian society. It means freedom, it means opportunity, it means respect for women, it means freedom to gather, it means so many things.
The hypocrisy there.
Yeah, it's I don't know. There's hypocrisy in almost every single line that was spewed out of that right there.
Yeah,
and it's completely unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Well, and the implication in his statement is that, only those values are only espoused by Judeo-Christian nations, right? That anywhere that doesn't have a quote-unquote Judean-Christian ethic is not capable of those types of thoughts. I mean, that exposes what a bigot he is, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's such bullshit because,
In a
you can
subtle
look at the
way, yeah.
Norwegian countries that are majority atheistic, and they score way better on societal health factors than we do.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing, I mean, we're all secular on this podcast, and unless Christianity went through the Enlightenment period where humanistic values and humanistic principles got infused with Christianity would have nothing to do with that. So this is a humanistic effort. This is a feminist effort that has caused them to have any association with any of these things. This is not like in the Bible, God said, respect women.
I remember that. That was nowhere in there, right?
Yeah, gather together because you have the freedom to do so. Make sure everybody has an opportunity. Those things aren't found in the Bible. So that's just...
Well, and in most cases, the values that he talked about are secular values that run in direct contradiction to anything you would find in the Bible.
Yeah.
It's not, those things aren't in the Bible to say, oh, women should be treated equally, of course.
And the couple good things in the Bible they don't do, like you should help the poor.
Yeah.
They hate helping the poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is that. Now I believe we're going to turn the time over to Matt for the secular story.
Hey guys, this is Matt. So this happened just the other day here in Utah. A young couple had a baby, and the grandparents on the mother's side of the baby are extremely religious, and they were upset that the baby was born in wedlock, so they forced
Out of wedlock?
or out of wedlock. Sorry,
Does it
Okay.
say what religion they are?
it does not say.
But this was
But
here
I'm-
in Utah,
yeah,
right?
so I'm
we can
assuming
guess, yeah.
Mormon.
Yeah.
And so they forced whatever the mother to give the baby up for adoption. And here in Utah, the father doesn't need to sign the the adoption papers.
Oh, okay. So he has no right.
He has no right, but he wants to keep the baby girl. And the police came and took his daughter away from him. And the new adoptive parents,
Yeah.
are friends with the grandparents.
Oh, God.
And it's, purely religious reasons that they literally kidnapped this baby from the father.
That I don't understand how that all played out. Like how you said that the father pre-show you said that the father or fathers here in Utah don't have to sign paperwork to approve of giving a child up for adoption.
Yeah, you only need the mother's signature.
That's just really weird. Well, so my son is adopted. My ex-wife had him before we got together, and his father was pretty much absent. He'd pick him up for, holiday parties every now and then. Just kind of, he didn't call regularly. He didn't see him regularly. He'd see him maybe once every 6 months or so to pick him up to take him to a family party and, pretend that he's the great father and look at my wonderful kid. And, at the time, it was basically sending off our 2-year-old son to a stranger. He'd seen him like 4, maybe 5 times, a handful of times his entire life. Didn't really know who he was, and it was like sending him off with a complete stranger all the time. So I said, okay, no more of that. I'll adopt him because you and I are the ones taking care of him. His father's obviously not really all that interested. And so we went and filed paperwork with an attorney to start the adoption process. And in doing that, our attorney sent paperwork to Gray's biological father, and said, this is the intention of Dan and his wife, and he wants to adopt him. You have the opportunity to go to court, to do whatever. And we just didn't get any response from him at all. And then because we didn't get any response, we had to run an ad in a paper for, I can't remember the exact amount of time. It was either 2 or 4 weeks or something like that. We had to run an ad, and we had to run an ad in the paper saying, that I intended to adopt my son, and his father's name is this, and if anybody has any dissent, or if the father, if that we've been trying to contact the father, but he's not replied, blah blah blah. We had to run that. After we got no response, then we went back into court, and I was able to adopt him. And his dad said that he was pissed off about it, and his initial reaction to us was, fuck you, I'm not going to allow this to happen. But then he didn't file any response with an attorney, no response even just personally from him, other than fuck you, I don't want that to happen. So yeah, I don't know what the exact laws are around that. I can only speak to my experience from 18, 19 years ago now.
It's interesting that it was that much work, and I'm not sure exactly the laws either, and why it was so easy for them to take the baby.
Yeah, well, maybe if the woman wants to put the child up for adoption, it's all she has to do is fill out a couple of papers, and then it just basically waives the father's rights right over completely. Like, I imagine if she just gave your son up for adoption, then all she had to do was write something, and the father would have no say in it.
And I'm curious
I
to know,
imagine.
too, if the father's name was on the birth certificate or anything like that.
It did say, because they were kind of not sure if they were going to keep the baby. But then they decided to, and then that's when the grandparents stepped in. But he started taking steps to keep his daughter. He went and put his name officially on the birth certificate. And it says here that to keep Kaylee, he had to file paternity action, an affidavit. There you go. And a commencement notice with Utah's vital records. So I don't know if he wasn't able to do that in time, but yeah.
Well, is there more news to the story? Is he going to attorneys? Is he going to try to fight this then?
He's just starting the process to try and get her back.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good, Dad.
Good luck to him,
Yeah. Good luck to you, sir.
Yeah, it looks like it'll take a lot of good luck, because I've been reading through this, and yeah, definitely, Matt, everything that Matt's been saying is accurate. So,
well, and it's hard to unring that bell, right? I mean, apparently these people have gone through and have done the actual adoption. It's a done deal. So to unring that bell, to have them reverse the decision of adoption, that's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely. I know, like, I have full custody of my daughter, and if my ex-wife wanted to get custody, she would have to prove that I am actually endangering my daughter, you know. Since it's already been done, like you're saying, it's a lot harder to reverse that.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So is there anything else we want to talk about in the first part of the show?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I think that's it. We're going to go to the second half. And in the second half, we're going to interview Dan, as he's held some positions in atheistic
None of us can
leadership.
talk.
Yeah. As Dan's held some positions in atheist leadership. And then also we wanted to talk about the refugees. So we might have that in 2 separate parts, but we're definitely going to talk about that next. So stay tuned. Thanks. Anybody else want to say bye-bye? Joe normally jumps in.
Yeah, see you later. Oh, also, question.
Sure.
So I want to start doing the science thing next Sunday.
Okay.
When are we going to hold that in the podcast?
Right before the secular story. So starting next week, another thing to look forward to is Joe's going to be doing a weekly science segment. So we'll have the format of that next week included in, and we'll have that probably as a separate story on YouTube, as well as the secular story separate from the current events that we do every week. So next week, or look forward to that, and stay tuned for the rest of the show. Thanks.
Can we
Hi,
call
guys,
it
I love
science, bitch?